In psychometrics, content validity refers to the extent to which a measure represents all facets of a given social construct. For example, a depression scale may lack content validity if it only assesses the affective dimension of depression but fails to take into account the behavioral dimension. An element of subjectivity exists in relation to determining content validity, which requires a degree of agreement about what a particular personality trait such as extraversion represents. A disagreement about a personality trait will prevent the gain of a high content validity. On content validity is different from face validity, which refers not to what the test actually measures, but to what it superficially appears to measure. Face validity assesses whether the test looks valid to the examinees who take it, the administrative personnel who decide on its use, and other technically untrained observers. Content validity requires the use of recognized subject matter experts to evaluate whether test items assess defined content and more rigorous statistical tests than does the assessment of face validity. Content validity is most often addressed in academic and vocational testing, where test items need to reflect the knowledge actually required for a given topic area or job skill. In clinical settings, content validity refers to the correspondence between test items and the symptom content of a syndrome. One widely used method of measuring content validity was developed by C.H. Larsch. It is essentially a method for gauging agreement among raters or judges regarding how essential a particular item is. Larsch proposed that each of the subject matter expert raters on the judging panel respond to the following question for each item: is the skill or knowledge measured by this item essential, useful, but not essential, or not necessary to the performance of the construct? According to Larsch, if more than half the panelists indicate that an item is essential, that item has at least some content validity. Greater levels of content validity exist as larger numbers of panelists agree that a particular item is essential. Using these assumptions, Larsch developed a formula termed the content validity ratio, where content validity ratio, number of SME panelists indicating essential, total number of SME panelists. This formula yields values which range from +1 to -1. Positive values indicate that at least half the SMEs rated the item as essential. The mean CVR across items may be used as an indicator of overall test content validity. Larsch provided a table of critical values for the CVR by which a test evaluator could determine, for a pool of SMEs of a given size, the size of a calculated CVR necessary to exceed chance expectation. This table had been calculated for Larsch by his friend, Lowell Schipper. Close examination of this published table revealed an anomaly. In Schipper's table, the critical value for the CVR increases monotonically from the case of 40 SMEs to the case of 9 SMEs only to unexpectedly drop at the case of 8 SMEs before hitting its ceiling value at the case of 7 SMEs. Whether this departure from the table's otherwise monotonic progression was due to a calculation error on Schipper's part or an error in typing or typesetting is unclear. Wilson, Pan, and Shumsky, seeking to correct the error, found no explanation in Larsch's writings nor any publications by Schipper describing how the table of critical values was computed. Wilson and colleagues determined that the Schipper values were close approximations to the normal approximation to the binomial distribution. By comparing Schipper's values to the newly calculated binomial values, they also found that Larsch and Schipper had erroneously labeled their published table as representing a one-tailed test when in fact the values mirrored the binomial values for a two-tailed test. Wilson and colleagues published a recalculation of critical values for the content validity ratio providing critical values in unit steps at multiple alpha levels. The table of values is the following one, now degree of panelists min. Value 5.99, 6.99, 7.99, 8.75, 9.78, 10.62, 11.59, 12.56, 20.42, 30.33, 40.29. From http://exist pseudo download. DOI equals 10.1.1.460.9380 and rep equals rep1 and type equals PDF. See also, construct validity. criterion validity, test validity, validity, face validity. References. Larsch, C.H. A Quantitative Approach to Content Validity. Personnel Psychology, 28, 563 Euro 575 doi, 10.1111 per Joule 1744-6570.1975 TBO 1393X, Wilson, F.R., Pan, W., and Shumsky, D.A. Recalculation of the critical values for Larsch Euro unregistered trademark S content validity ratio. Measurement and Evaluation in Counseling and Development, 45, 3, 197-210 doi, 10.1177/07481756124402886. External links, Handbook of Management Scales, a Wikbook containing previously used multi-item scales to measure constructs in empirical management research literature. For many scales, content validity is discussed.